Good evening, everyone. Welcome to closing comments here for February 12th. Let's jump right into our charts and see what happened in the market today. First up, we got our April live cattle on the board. Did see a pretty quiet day, but constructive action here in this live cattle market. Prices hanging steady up here near the top end of prior day's range. We did briefly get a poke above yesterday's high, but just able to close that gap that was created from last Thursday, but not really seeing much upside other than that. This market did come back down in here and test the midpoint of that prior day's range, finding some good support down there near 240 to 239.5. Exactly where we want to see buyers coming in and offering support to this market. Looking like we're putting in a higher low here on our lower time frame, and we should see this late momentum we saw carry over into tomorrow's session. Bulls want to keep this uptrend rolling, and if they want to finish this week out on a high note, they need to take some of the last couple days momentum into Friday's session and push this market back up here towards the current year's high and try and get a strong close on the week to confirm the relative strength of this cattle market while we're seeing a little bit of downside elsewhere around the market. So look for the cattle to keep on pushing here. We still got a good uptrend shaping up here. Good supportive action today. We should see the bulls try and take that over into tomorrow's session and finish this week out on a high note. Look for the upside to continue in this live cattle market. Next up, our March feeders seeing some choppy action, just hanging around that prior day's range. We did see today's action slip down there, briefly touching that 20-day moving average, coming just shy of it, but getting down there close and finding some good buyer support after undercutting that prior day's low. Prior week's value area seeing support in all the right spots here. We should see this feeder market try and turn around and head back up towards the 370s, close this overhead gap here. Seeing good support, good relative strength. This market has continued just to ride this 20-day moving average over the last couple months here, and we expect to see that trend continue. Look for the bulls to try and turn this market higher. Get some bids rolling in above 368 tomorrow and push this thing up into the 370s. Try and finish this week out on a high note. Look for the feeders to keep on driving higher. This cattle market's looking good and solid at the moment. Still got good uptrends in both feeder and fat markets. We should see the upside continue, and we should see these prices continue to climb back up there towards those all-time highs. Next up, we got our March corn futures on the board. Pretty choppy action over the last couple of weeks here. This market seeing a lid on it up here at around 435 at these prior range lows, but not really able to get much traction to the downside here so far. We should see some choppy action continue here. We're not really looking like the bears are going to make any real strong pushes here at the moment. We need to see the resistance continue to hold up here below 435. Last week's high up here testing that 50-day moving average should continue to keep price capped until we get some bids either above it and a finish for the week above this 435 level. We still should see a little bit of resistance here by the bears, but not looking like they're going to be making any major breaks anytime soon. We should see some resistance hold here, but this market has been pretty choppy and pretty comfortable down here in the 420 to 435 area, so we expect to see just some choppy, low volatility action to stick around in this corn market. Next up, crude oil prices heading back down here towards 62 bucks today. After yesterday's rally up there, falling short of 66, we did see this market just send it back down here towards the bottom end of this range. We continue to trade here between 62 and 66. We expect to see that trend, this range-bound action continue, kind of like we saw back here in August and September last year. Price has been pretty comfortable here in the $60 range. Not really expecting a whole lot of upside here. Bears need to get a finish back down here below 62 to push this market back into the 50s and keep any sort of downside going. In the meantime, though, we expect to see this choppy sideways action to keep churning around the mid-$60 range. Next up, equity markets seeing a little bit of weakness here today. We did see some pretty nasty finishes here in some of these mega cap stocks today. Lots of these big names starting to lose some ground and give up some key levels, seeing some resistance up here at these major moving averages from below on the NASDAQ. A lot of these mega cap names that make up a big portion of the NASDAQ are weighing heavy on this market right now. We continue to see some relative strength in the Dow. However, we did still see this market slip today. Financial sector starting to slip here as well, so that's putting some weakness back into the Dow. We did see this market settle back down here towards that 20-day average. We still got some support, kind of like we had seen over the last month or so, as this market has chopped around between 48.5 and 50,000. We'll see if the bulls are able to step in and support these Dow stocks. There are still a handful of the names in there that continue to see good relative strength, but we are starting to see some cracks form in some other places as well. So now is the time to be a little bit defensive here. We could see some increased volatility and some more downside to come over the next day or two. And as we head into next week, Just a lot of the big pieces of the puzzle are starting to slip and see some breakdowns. So we should see that kind of spill over into these indexes and take them lower here. A little bit of a corrective environment at the moment, so I encourage everyone to be defensive and raise some cash here while this market kind of settles down and we start to see a little bit cleaner picture here in some of those big pieces of the puzzle. So in the meantime, get defensive. We should see a little bit more downside come here in the S&P and the NASDAQ. We'll have to wait and see if the Dow can act as support, but if this one starts to give way as well, we could really see this market start to slip. And so now's the time just to be a little bit cautious, a little bit defensive here, and let this market kind of give us a little bit cleaner picture before we get involved to the long side. That's all I got for this week. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. We will catch you over the weekend for a Week 7 Market Watch. Thank you, guys, and have a good night.